Everybody, thank you for joining us early. We're just gonna wait a few minutes, but we started a little chat. We'd love to hear where you guys are joining us from. Emily with Accelerate here, she's out in Suttons Bay, Michigan. Heidi's in San Diego, and I am in Troy, Michigan, which seems kind of funny considering Emily and I are both in Michigan and Caroline too, but we're all completely separate. Emily is like super North Michigan, and Caroline and I are Metro Detroit.
I'm Stephanie Blue. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. That's great, Jennifer, that it's just your cat screaming in the background. It's usually my 3 children or one of my 3 children. So my apologies if you do happen to hear screech. They like to get loud. Yes, my new coworkers. They always like to get rowdy right when there's a phone call.
Yes, you can only call pets and children coworkers these days.
That's right.
Everyone. It's the
Good
new.
morning.
Hi, Esther.
Hi.
Hey.
All right, and as I think about my 3 new coworkers, I'm drinking water, but I realized I should have put a pot of coffee on before getting started here, but there's time for that. Thanks, guys, for joining us and chiming in here on letting us know where you're joining us from on the chat. We are going to get started in just a few minutes here. Right now, I have the first slide up. It also has the quick link for you to our COVID-19 resource hub for small businesses. We've been going in and revising and updating this page for everybody on a daily basis. Obviously, we all know things are changing very rapidly, and we want to be able to give you the best information, the most up-to-date information. So, you can write down that link, set it as a bookmark in your web browsers, and just keep referring back to that and sharing that with members. I know we have some chambers and associations joining us as well. So really good stuff on there. We're also working on some additional projects for everybody in regards to the current situation with COVID-19. A few of them are just specifically around capital and financing because we know that a lot of small businesses are scared, nervous, as everybody is right now. And there have been a lot of new developments in regards to small business loans and financing. So we're working on that for you all, and we'll be sharing information as we solidify everything moving forward. So anybody that's just joining us, we'd love to hear where you are at in the chat. I'm Leslie, I'm one of your hosts, and I'm in Troy, Michigan. Caroline, our other host. Caroline, where are you at?
I'm in Royal Oak, Michigan, so we're both in the Metro Detroit area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
Really, actually only a couple miles apart, really.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
But that's
social
what we do
distance.
now.
It's what we do. It's what we do. Welcome, Suki.
Yeah.
Great. I love seeing how we have people joining us from all over the country. And I know that's something, each person experiencing something different. And Jim in Milwaukee, welcome. All right. Looking good here. If anybody's drinking coffee or has a good coffee recipe for this mother of 3 children, 5 and under, that's now working from home, please enter that in the chat too. Welcome, Ken. Bailey's. It's funny. My maiden name is Bailey, and so I usually will get a thing of Bailey's for Christmas every year from even like my Bailey relatives. So that's a really good suggestion, Jen. And I have that.
A nice, easy recipe we can all follow. That's so nice.
Exactly. Welcome, Bethany. All right, great.
Everyone's been somewhere warm, I feel like, but all of us in Michigan.
I know.
San Diego, Tempe,
jealous.
Knoxville. Is it warm in Knoxville right now? You're probably right.
Knoxville is not warm at all.
No?
Oh, no.
It's sunny right now. It's sunny, but it's cold.
Yeah. That's kind of how we are. We call
Consider, yeah, 50s and sunny, warm. We'll take it. Considering Monday,
weather.
was that Monday we had like essentially a blizzard, and then it all dried up and was gone by the afternoon. So that's Michigan. That's all right.
Wow.
Yes, it's one of the joys. All right, so it is about 4 after. I know that we are still waiting on some people to join us, but you know, this webinar is being recorded, everyone, so even people coming a little bit late will have a chance to go back to the beginning, but I'd like to get started and be conscious of everyone's time here. My name is Leslie Youngblood. I am the Senior Director of Creative Brand and Communications here at Accelerate America, and I am so excited that Caroline Peterson is joining us today. She is a professional writer and founder of Not Your Average Gal. Caroline, hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Why don't you tell, I'd love if you told people a little bit about your background and what you do with Not Your Average Gal and just some of your expertise in general before we get started.
Sure. So like Leslie said, I'm a professional writer, more specifically a copywriter. So I help, in general, small businesses with their messaging and their branding on social media. I put together emails, email blasts, white papers. And I also have founded the Not Your Average Gal, which is a community about opting out of the status quo and having Spice Girls posters in your background and loving it and enjoying it.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah. Caroline is an excellent resource of information. Although we're talking and saying like we're both communications, advertising and marketing experts and writers, and yet this current situation with COVID-19, nobody is an expert, right? We're all going through this and just learning and figuring everything out together. So you know, bear with us. And if you have any questions as we go, please feel free to pop it into the chat. We're also going to have some specific time for Q&A at the end. I put up a quick agenda here for everyone. We're going to start and work our way through social, then email, then just some general communication guidelines when it comes to COVID-19 and coronavirus. And then we'll have some Q&A. So we'll get started right here and dive right into social media. All right, so the thing when it comes to coronavirus and COVID-19, specifically on social media, it's a really great place to update your customers, right? Like everybody lives on social. Everybody is living even more on social, more than ever now, because some people, unfortunately, can't work, or you know, you're working from home and it's easier. So you can keep your audience updated on your revised hours or closures. If you're a restaurant and still offering carry out or delivery, people might be curious. If you are a retail shop and now currently you're only online, let them know that they can still get what they love from you online. If you were planning any events, you can, you know, reschedule them, let people know what's happening on social. And then when it comes to COVID-19 and social media, it's good to respond to questions and comments. People will probably be asking you perhaps, and so be honest and open. We definitely feel like that is something that is super key right now. And then again, it's also okay to take a pause to organize, reassess, and reprioritize things. This is an extremely unprecedented time, I think, for everybody. And so if you don't want to dive right into addressing it, or if you want to take a beat, if you just want to put one message out there and pause, that is completely okay too.
Right. And I think what I'm seeing with a lot of my clients too is we're not necessarily, totally deleting campaigns or deleting blog posts or things that we had scheduled prior. It's more, we're going to put them in the draft mode right now, and we're going to slowly bring them back in, and more knowing your audience. I'm taking the temperature of the room. I think now that we've moved into maybe the second week feeling like this, that we're putting more blog posts up at the end of the week. And just kind of knowing and feeling out how your customers are feeling too, and treating it like a community and not a business. So just maybe taking a pause is totally okay, and reassessing.
That's great. I see we already have a question. It's, have you been using social media to communicate with customers? Oh, Emily was asking this to our attendees. That would be great. Yes, please tell us how you've been doing this, if you've been talking to coronavirus on social already, what sort of engagement are you seeing with it? If you feel that has been the right avenue for you to keep in touch. I think, like Caroline said, continue your relationships, right? I mean, people there is a hunger for knowledge and updates out there, right? And so this fact is even from March 11th and 12th already. And there were 19 million mentions across social sites and news sites related to COVID-19 back then. And so you can only imagine how exponentially it's increased now that we're, March 25th, 26th, 27th. And stay engaged with your audience and acknowledge it. Like I said, we're all going through this together. And Starbucks had a really great message that they shared with their customers. And it was, these are truly uncharted times, and we're learning right alongside you as we navigate COVID-19 together. I think that it was really interesting and poignant, because somebody might think of like Starbucks as this like great behemoth, and I'm just a small business, and what does it matter? But like even these large corporations and large businesses don't know what to do or really what to say. Like I said, nobody is an expert right now. And so to be honest and transparent and just there and knowing that you're there and you're responding is something really important to do.
Right. Just be human, offer that camaraderie that people are looking for, building that community, that relationship, I think is really important, rather than being the expert at having all of the answers right now. You're right alongside with them.
Right. If somebody has all the answers, they need to
let
everybody know.
Yeah, please inform us.
Right. All right. So, but again, so then of course there's always a flip side, and especially with social, I think we all know, beware of bad information. As with anything, if you're sharing an update, or if you're sharing a fact, or even or an informative meme, just beware to double check the sources, especially as a business or an organization, right? Because people are looking to you as a leader. Case in point was this viral post that was about this simple self-check, and it was completely inaccurate. And the thing is that it cited Stanford University. So everybody thought that this was something completely legitimate, and it wasn't. And so it's really dangerous. And I feel like we all know that's how panic and hysteria, just flourish, right? Is these things spiral out of control. But so especially in a time like this, just take an extra beat to make sure anything that you're sharing is true and factual. All right, so now we're going to move on to email. So when it comes to COVID-19, we're seeing 3 big tiers or types of messages when it comes to email. So there's service message, brand friend, and random. Now, the service message is the most important and helpful, and it's the ones that inform us about a change in service, an updated policy, or even a relevant discount. So it's the Gap telling you about store closures. It's airlines keeping you posted on travel restrictions and flight updates. And it's even your email platform provider offering additional services. I believe, I know we have some examples coming up here on this next screen of some people that have done this well. And you see this from large companies like HubSpot, which is a CRM platform, to somebody that isn't so well known. It's a game thinking collective. And then Mother Honestly, it's letting you know that there is this virtual happy hour. So keep in mind some of these service messages. If you are an organization, a business organization, a chamber of commerce, these are really probably the right way for you to communicate. And you maybe have done this already, as some of you are talking about in the chat. So just, people want to know, they want to be updated. And so to do it well and to do it in a factual way, in a calm way, is the right way to go about it.
Right. And I think it's important when you're writing these emails to really not use that as an opportunity to use marketing language, but to use real plain language and be human and show that you're concerned as well. We can save the specials and the sales for maybe a few more emails down the line. Just make sure the language is more plain and honest, but also comforting.
That's a really great point, Caroline. I think that people have a propensity to really hate marketing emails, or like just a marketing BS detector in general is always on high alert, or spam, right? And I think right now with everything so heightened, it's, they're going to just cut you off and just completely tune you out. Yeah, delete it completely. So it really is a time to be wary of that and to be careful and to not jump to the marketing and to the sell right now. But which is to say, like you said, Caroline, I think that's important to also circle back to is if you have a sale coming, like let's say you have an Easter sale or something, right? Like you can still execute on that sale, but just pivot, right, Caroline?
Right,
You want to
right,
talk a little bit
yeah.
about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just pivot. Maybe make sure that the first email that you're sending or that you are going to be sending isn't about the sale. And especially if you've already developed those relationships, and you can maybe pivot in the very end of an email saying, stay tuned. We have some good things coming up. We have things that are going to make you feel good. You can change the names of the sales. You can change how you're selling it. Obviously, most of it needs to be online or these curbside pickup. So yeah, I think it is just kind of being open and honest, using that plain language that's important.
And I think too, when it comes to a marketing piece, people want to help small businesses and want to help in whatever way they can right now. So definitely keep moving forward with that, because they are looking for those ways to engage and to be of help while we're all at home. So definitely don't completely shelve it, but just be more careful with it, like Caroline said. All right, next email is the brand friend. So this is where brands who have built a direct line of communication with customers feel obligated to at least acknowledge it, even if it's just to say hi and we're all in this together. So there's a nice example of this done well by Lunya Sleepwear. And you can see we're in this together. And it's just like a really nice message that's acknowledging what's going on and talking to the situation, but yet being just like a friend, like, right, there's no service updates, right? Like, they're not telling you that they have an hours change or an event change, but they are just acknowledging what's going on. And so an example of somebody else that this might be good for is like if you're a D2C, a direct to consumer, or you have a product line that's sold through other stores, just to keep the lines of communication open. People just want to know you're there and to acknowledge it.
And I think it's also a really good opportunity, if you have developed these relationships with your customers, to be a resource for other ways that they can help. So if you're sending an email saying that here's where the school lunch providers are, or here's some work from home tips, or here's some homeschooling tips, because we all know that we're doing that right now. And then it may not necessarily be direct in line to what your mission and your philosophy is with your small business or organization, but you're there with them and you're developing the brand friend, like Leslie was saying.
Yeah, that's excellent. All right, number 3 is the random. We just happen to have your email. Thanks for buying a pasty from us 3 years ago. So this is a real email that I did receive, and I will be, you can see that it talks about March 15th. So this is a little bit older. So I feel like it was a little bit before things really got completely serious in regards to COVID-19. But it was just, I don't really even know how I ended up on this email list. I don't know, they offer pasties, like a food item, a paste, like, and I just feel like the tone is a little too jokey, I feel like, for the seriousness of the situation. So, and I think this is like a really good, if you've done one of these already, it's okay. We're all in this together. We all do things in hindsight that maybe we shouldn't, but this is like another reason why you should use your audience segments, hopefully, right? Like, hopefully, the people and you don't send to people that are completely unengaged with you, right? And so you have different messaging for somebody that's more engaged, more members that like have done, 5 activities as opposed to the ones who haven't. So when you're more on their radar, but the nice thing is that businesses are reaching out to people and acknowledging the situation and what's going on. So if you've done it, it's okay, but just try to keep in mind email segments too, moving forward. So I'm curious. I know everybody's been sort of chatting a little bit, but I'm curious to know if anybody here has sent any one of these 3, the service, the brand friend, or even the random. It's okay. You can admit if you've done the brand friend, you guys. It's all right. We'd love to hear it. Okay. All right, so an email tip, just try not to overwhelm your customers right now. So as we say, acknowledge us and talk to this. Please do not send them 10 emails like of concern in capital letters and add more stress to an already stressful situation. Like Caroline said, be clear and deliberate. Communicate when there are new things to communicate. Just don't send it just to send it, right? You want to be helpful, relevant, informative, constructively distracting, right? Or authentically compassionate. And don't, like Caroline said, continue sending all of your automated promo messages, right? Acknowledge it, and then you can pivot back, or hold back on something. Like, it might be helpful to set up a schedule of emails for you and your team, so you know that we're only going to send one update a week, or plan to send one update a week, and then say, you know what, things change so fast and we want our community to know X, Y, Z. So we are going to send 2 emails a week, and we're going to let them know we're going to send 2 emails a week. Setting the expectation is also going to be super helpful and beneficial for your customers or for your members, because it sets the expectation. And so it doesn't become just spam and just noise in their email inbox.
Yeah, I think we're all learning to be very flexible right now. So all of those hard deadlines and hard dates, and when we were going to send that email or post on social media, we just kind of need to learn to step back and know that things are so rapidly changing. So we can either put them in drafts, put them on hold. We can send immediately if needed, but the key is just kind of be flexible for your customers, your members.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, I think, right, Emily, Jennifer just shared that City Council was just meeting, a shelter in place was literally just put into place for them. So, I mean, as the minutes go by every day, things change so drastically for everyone. So we're thinking of you, Jennifer. It's going to be okay. We're thinking of you guys out there. All right. And so now we've talked about social, we've talked about email. Now we're going to move into just some general communication tips and things to keep in mind as we navigate COVID-19. So as we were saying, communicate early and often, even if you don't have all of the details, because in the absence of information, people will fill the space with rumors and speculation. And as we were talking earlier, this can cause fear and panic, right? And it's easy to let your mind run away with you, especially at a time like this, because it's just completely overwhelming. So be there for them, be clear, communicate early, and do it as often as you have planned. And it's always best to begin by reiterating that your first priority is their safety and well-being, and that of their family. And of course, your actions need to back up and support that sentiment, right? Like, if you are a business that is going to ignore an order, or allow groups of people into your establishment, that's really poor. And I don't know of anybody actually doing that.
Right.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
But I would just like to say.
Right. I think that the first line or in any kind of marketing in this needs to be, we're in this together. How are you and your family doing? How are you doing? We're concerned about you. And also, this is what we're doing to keep your safety in mind. And that should kind of be secondary.
Yeah. Excellent. So, touch points to convey. Reassure your audiences that you're aware of the situation, that you're monitoring it for updates. And then if there's any action you would like them to take or resources you have for them to utilize, I know especially for our business organizations and chambers that you're pulling information as much as possible. And so many people have questions, right? And, I think we mentioned HubSpot earlier had opened up new offerings to its customers. I believe Google Hangouts has opened up its suite of services. What are some other ones, Caroline, that you?
I know Zoom is out of control right now, and they have offered their current clients who are paying to upgrade for a better price. So being a resource right now for when people are trying to navigate these waters and trying to communicate differently from a home office, that's really important to get across to everyone.
And I know at Accelerate America, we work remotely regularly, so it hasn't been such a huge change for us, but we do know of, I believe Emily was saying her husband, they've never worked remotely before, and people work off of their desktops and don't even know how to access their emails from their home computers. And so people are looking for help, and hopefully their companies are there and their businesses are helping them. But these other companies and you yourself as a organization, as a chamber, even a business, if there are resources that you can offer to people that can help ease the transition and ease the overwhelm, definitely share it. And you know, as this little blurb says, like, it's a tough time for everyone right now, right? Share things you're liking or doing personally. As if you're a retail boutique and you're closed, and you obviously hopefully have let them know that maybe your goods are available to shop online, maybe share some things that you're doing personally, you know, for the business for when you reopen, right? And ask people how they're doing. And a simple thank you goes a long way. As with any time in any situation, just as Caroline said, like, letting them know that we're all in this together. Thank you for bearing with us right now. It's huge.
Right, definitely. And I think so many people want to know how to help small businesses right now, that even if you're just posting or emailing or marketing saying, thank you, this is what you're doing and this is what's helping, we really appreciate it. That really does, you know, enforce that relationship that you're building with your customers.
All right. So in summary, speak to COVID-19. If you don't speak to it, it just seems wrong, just because it is so prevalent. It's just part of everyone's life right now. Help your customers, help your members, and then you can move on from it and circle back to it if needed, right? Like, I think that Friends episode of Ross Geller and the pivot sofa in this stairwell, I think is, pivot. Everybody's just talking and everybody is constantly pivoting, whether you're a small business, a big business, an organization. Right now, everybody just, you know, needs to keep that in mind, that everybody's pivoting and trying, and we all can do this, and we all will get through this together, and we'll make each other stronger. So those are, you know, our top tips for everybody in terms of when it comes to talking about coronavirus on social, via email, and just in general with your communications. So now I'd like to open it up for any specific questions for myself or Caroline. Please ask away. We are here for you guys.
But I have a question for each of you. So when we talk about all this, right, we need to mention it. We need to, you know, talk about what we're doing for COVID, but how do we kind of start introducing some of the normal, right? How do we kind of get back to normal things that we as business owners usually talk about?
Right. I think, you know, right now,
but like, when is the right time?
I think that, you know, right now it's all COVID all the time, and that's all we're seeing. I have seen some brands this week, and even some clients I'm pushing stuff out for later this week, that is the normal, but that's because they know their customers well, and know that it's okay right now. So I think it is kind of knowing your audience. I think in the next couple of weeks, it probably is going to be more okay to push those specials or those discounts or those campaigns. I mean, even into this week, I think we're starting to see it's a little bit of a lighter mood, especially in social media, with the funny memes relating to working from home. And I think as the weeks go by, it's going to get a little bit better, but it is also important to know your audience and know if that's what they're looking for. As keeping in mind that you've already conveyed the COVID message to them and what you're doing to keep their safety in mind.
Yeah, I think that is important. Knowing your audience, of course, it's going to be completely different from one to the next. It's going to be completely different during one day too, as we just saw, right? So I think just touching base, like if you have a marketing team, reviewing your schedule every day to make sure that what you're going to put out is like poignant, or like, you know, has the right sentiment. You know, you don't want to maybe put out like a jokey something when things have taken a turn, or like you've just been issued a shelter in place. Like, you know, there's like, it's a fine line for everybody right now, even experts. People are learning and going, and don't be afraid to like, if you feel like you messed up, it's okay. But also don't be afraid to pivot away from it, because I think people are also looking for a relief from the constant barrage of COVID-19, right? And so they're looking for those memes too, and they're looking for a blog article that's not specifically related to COVID-19. And you know, and they, like I said, they want to help small businesses. Like, that's a really great thing to share and do, that is sort of related to COVID, but like something positive that you can do out of it. I think everybody is looking, for action. Where can I donate masks that I found in my house? Where can I give money to a local business that had to shut their doors and needs to support their employees right now and can't? Where can I donate money? And so those types of resources are even like specific COVID resources, but not necessarily headline, like about the situation specifically. So there's a lot of different ways to talk to it without necessarily talking to it specifically.
Right. And I think if you also introduce an email or a post saying, we thought that this would bring a smile to your face, and it could be a funny picture or a funny video or things like that, because then you still are touching on, people are going through a hard time, but we want to make a little bit lighter right now. That's also an opportunity to connect.
Yeah. I love what Suki and Jennifer just shared too, that it's okay to sprinkle good news in your communications. They announced their Business Woman of the Year finalists on Friday. That's amazing. And and people are looking for positive things.
Yes.
And Jennifer, they're posting things that are happening in their community, that a manufacturer is donating a bunch of masks. Like, those are incredible things that people are doing. And keep doing that kind of stuff. I think that's so important. Everybody, like Heidi said, they're looking for direction on how to do it and what can be a positive spin on a overwhelming situation.
Right.
And I think, even last week, like, we had our Future Leader campaign, and we debated at the beginning of the week, should we still be doing this? And we thought, it's a positive message online. No one had to go anywhere. So it was safe. And we just thought it was a good, someone was going to win $5,000. Like, that was a big deal that we still wanted to share and felt like it was the right message. And it was pretty successful. We were quite pleased, for one of the worst weeks we've ever had as a community, community and nation. So we thought it was the right thing to do, and it seemed to work out pretty well. So Jennifer had set up a few. I know there's some other chambers on this call. She was asking if any of you are doing virtual networking. You can chat, or you feel free to turn on your video or unmute. You can go ahead and speak to Jennifer too if anyone wants to talk about what you're doing. I know a lot of people are moving from kind of in-person events to virtual events and kind of planning how they're going to do that. So if anyone wants to speak to what they're doing to that, we would love to hear from you.
Hi everyone. My name is Ed Olvera. I'm from Cub.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, and we represent 4,500 boutique owners.
Wow.
So we've also got about 600 wholesale vendors that are really in need of being able to engage with somebody to sell, because all the trade shows have been canceled. So we are currently providing several services, and one of them includes a virtual pop-up trade show for everyone to participate in. So
that's awesome.
So
that's great.
We kind of run it like a television station so that no one's jumping on each other. And we schedule it a day in advance so that everyone knows that what particular time a certain vendor will be on. And then we provide the leads, and then it's up to the sales rep or the brand to go ahead and communicate with the customers. And it's been quite successful. We've run tests on it on the Boutique Hub already. And it's working, and I'm kind of shocked at how many boutiques are still buying for their stores. So they're being they are being very proactive about things by doing live sales, by providing services, and so they're going to survive. And like you said, we're all in this together. So, and I want to thank you for inviting us to be a part of this.
Of course. Ed, I'm curious, what platform do you run that virtual wholesale event on?
So what we're doing is we're doing through Facebook.
Oh,
okay. So what we did, we're creating a special group, and what we do is, like I said, we're asking everyone to drop their videos ahead of time in a Dropbox or Google Drive, and then we're downloading it, and we're providing kind of like a complete segment along with some graphics and the video, so that it looks really sharp, and the content looks good and professional.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
I love that. I think we all know the negative aspects of Facebook and social media, but I just am so encouraged by the positive ways that people are able to come together and continue with their businesses and network and still make things happen on social media right now. I just think it's really cool. And there's even something as simple as, I think there was like a DJ just spinning music for like, you know, and like people came in that just like live on Instagram, right? It's just like something like that is just utilizing it in a different way. So I just think that the innovation of what's happening right now, I think is really fascinating too. And it's so encouraging to know that businesses can still, you know, operate even though their doors may be closed. I'd love to hear from anybody else seeing success or doing something differently or utilizing social uniquely.
I saw one of my friends who owns, well, she's a hairstylist, and she started posting on her business page on Facebook that she could provide the color for her customers. She could leave it on their doorsteps for them. Now, this was before we had the shelter in place, but and they could just pay her on Venmo or over the phone as they normally do, and they can keep their hair up. And because we all know what our real hair color is going to look like in 6 weeks, and she was kind of touching on that she could pivot and sell that way, and use social media to do it, which I thought was really cool.
Wow, that's so interesting. I love that. All right, do we have any other questions or anybody else who would like to share? I just want to, again, remind anyone as you type in maybe a question that we are recording this. And so we are going to put the recording of this webinar on our COVID-19 resource page. Again, I just put the slide up with that bit.ly, http://bit.ly/EA_resource hub. And if there's anything that pops into your mind or anything that you would specifically like to ask myself or Caroline about, Caroline has graciously shared her email with you all right here. She's fantastic. Please pick her brain and mine as well. We are here for you guys. We want to do everything we can to help you, organizations, small businesses, etc. So thank you all for joining us today. I don't see any more questions, so I am going to wrap this up. But again, reach out to myself, reach out to Caroline. We're here for you, and we're thinking of all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us.